بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أبناء الأعزاء، محاضرتنا لهذا اليوم هو حول موضوع الميتابوليزم of the phospholipid. بالمرحلة الأولى تم دراسة الليبيد and define the lipid, classification the lipid, function of the lipid. The lipid can be classified to four types. Number one, the simple lipid, and the compound or the complex lipid, and derived lipid and miscellaneous lipid. The simple lipid is ester of the fatty acid with alcohol, also classified to two types. Number one, the fats and oil, and number two, wax. The number one is ester of the fatty acid, the fats or oil, ester of the fatty acid with glycerol. When the fatty acid is saturated, is give the fats, but when the fatty acid is insaturated, give the oil. The change or the difference between the fats and oil in physical properties. Oil is liquid because have the insaturated fatty acid, but the fat is solid because have the saturated fatty acid. Wax is ester of the fatty acid long chain with aliphatic or cyclic alcohol. The second types of the fats is complex or the compound lipids. This compound consists from the ester of the fatty acid with alcohol and contain other groups such as the phosphate, nitrogenous base, carbohydrate, proteins in the structure of the lipid. Also classified to phospholipid and classified to glycolipid and lipoproteins and other complex. The derived lipids, these are derivatives obtained on the hydrolysis of the group 1 and 2, which have characteristic lipid. يعني هي عبارة عن مجاميع ناتجة من عملية أو مشتقات تحلل الدهون، اللي هي derivatives مشتقات الدهون، هي ناتجة من تحلل المركبات المعقدة الدهنية وتمتلك خواص الدهون. موضوعنا لهذا اليوم هو الميتابوليزم of the phospholipids. Lipids performing a variety of the function. These include the membrane structures and functions, involvement in the blood clotting, and supply of the arachidonic acid for the synthesis of the prostaglandin. الأداء أو الوظائف المتنوعة للدهون والذي تتضمن في تركيب جدار الغشاء الخلية والوظائفه المتعددة. كذلك يدخل في عملية الكلوتينج اوف بلاد، تخثر الدم، وعملية السبلاي اوف arachidonic acid for the synthesis of the prostaglandin. يعتبر من المواد الأساسية لإنتاج البروستاغلاندينز، والذي يعتبر هو important materials in the body because considered as the local hormone، لأنه بعض الأورجانز تسوي عملية سينثيسيس للبروستاغلاندين ويعتبر هو as hormone, local hormone، يعني synthesis in the cell and work in the same cell, work in the same cell or in other cell beside the cell that synthesis of the prostaglandin. يعني البروستاغلاندين ذات تعتبر هرمونات يعني موقعية تخلق في خلايا وتعمل في نفس الخلايا التي يتم تصنيع هذه البروستاغلاندينات، أو تعمل على خلايا بجنب الخلايا التي يتم تصنيع البروستاغلاندينات. The synthesis of the phospholipid. Phospholipids are synthesized from the phosphatic acid and 1,2-diacylglycerol intermediates in the productions of the triacylglycerol. Phospholipid synthesis occurs in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. إذن الفوسفوليبيد يخلق من الفوسفاتيك أسيد، من مركب الفوسفاتيك أسيد، ويرتبط مع مركب آخر هو الداي أسيل جليسرول، اللي هو عبارة عن انترميديت، هو ناتج جانبي لعملية إنتاج التراي أسيل جليسرول. فوسفوليبيد، الفوسفوليبيد سينثيسيس تحدث in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum، في الشبكة الأندوبلازمية الناعمة. In these figures we are show I will explain the synthesis of the phospholipid and synthesis of the triacylglycerol. This compound come from the two pathway. The first pathway is glycerol that obtained from the sephiral source is converted to glycerol 3-phosphate by the glycerol kinase after addition one phosphate group is obtained from the adenosine triphosphate, and the glycerol 3-phosphate by enzyme glycerol 3-phosphate acyl transferase and addition of acyl CoA is give lysophosphatic acid. The binding of acyl group in one position of the glycerol 3-phosphate. The name of enzyme glycerol 3-phosphate and acyl transferase، بمعنى أنه إضافة مجموعة أسيل إلى مركب الجليسرول 3-phosphate, and this compound converted to the phosphatic acid by the acyl transferase enzyme after addition of the acyl group that obtained from acetyl CoA. The phosphatic acid is maybe converted to give diacylglycerol by the phosphatase enzyme, but after remove the phosphate group from by this enzyme to give the diacylglycerol. The diacylglycerol is converted to triacylglycerol by acyl transferase after added the acyl group from the acetyl CoA, and the diacylglycerol reacted or combined with phosphatic acid to give the phospholipid. The glycerol 3-phosphate and lysophosphatic acid is obtained from also other source. The glucose is converted to dihydroxyacetone phosphate. These reactions show in the glycolysis process when explain this information in the metabolism of the glucose or carbohydrates. And this reaction of this compound dihydroxyacetone phosphate is converted to the glycerol 3-phosphate by the glycerol 3-phosphate dehydrogenase, and when addition of the NADH and converted to NAD+. This reaction is reversible, and also this compound is converted to 1-acyl dihydroxyacetone phosphate by dihydroxyacetone phosphate acyl transferase when added other acetyl groups when added the acetyl CoA to this compound and the acyl group added to one position to give 1-acyl dihydroxyacetone phosphate, and this compound is converted to lysophosphatic acid by the 1-acyl dihydroxyacetone phosphate reductase enzyme.